Howdy, fellow vine trippers. I wanted to take just a moment before the show starts to let you know about a great website called Texas Wine Lover. They can be found at txwinelover.com. And they have a comprehensive website that can become your go-to site for information on Texas wines, winemakers, and the wineries that can be found in this state. They even have a phone app that you can download, and that will help you plan your route to create your own wine trip. So make sure and check them out at txwinelover.com. Welcome to Texas Under Vine, an exploratory podcast to scout out the best that Texas wine country has to offer. I'm your wine guide, Scott, and I'm here to lead you on an auditory expedition to the vineyards and wineries across the great Lone Star State. Each episode will cover a different vineyard, winery, or wine-related business operating in Texas. You'll hear interviews, descriptions, and details about each location that will excite you to visit and experience them for yourself. Ready to plan a wine tour? Use these episodes to choose the most interesting spots for you and your friends to check out. Most of all, enjoy hearing about the rapidly growing wine industry in the state and what makes our wines and wineries the best. Howdy, fellow vine tripper. Welcome to episode 21 for Texas Under Vine. Well, I thought I'd continue my time in North Texas this week by visiting a winery that's located in Burleson, Texas, which is just south of Fort Worth. It's called Lost Oak Winery. Now, their winemaker, Jim Evans, has been working in the wine industry in Texas since 1981. This coming harvest in 2023 will mark his 43rd harvest in Texas. So he's had lots of experience with the industry, and he's seen many changes during his time as the winemaker there. So the owner and founder of the winery is Gene Estes. His stepdaughter, Roxanne Myers, is actually the current president and running the operations. They have been established for quite some time. They had a name change, actually, around 2012. Funny story, they actually found out that the original name of the winery, Lone Oak Winery, was actually already trademarked by a Sonoma vineyard. You'll hear more of that story from Jim in a little while, but the founder, Gene, decided to change the name to its current state, which is Lost Oak Winery, which, of course, they now hold the trademark on, so no one else can take that from them. But in addition to their estate vines, they have vines like Blanc de Bois, Shiraz, and Black Spanish. They also source much of their grapes from the Texas High Plains, as many wineries in Texas do. They do love to host live music on weekends. They sit on about 52 acres for the property itself. And the founder, Gene, had a 2.5-mile hike and bike trail established back in the woods next to the winery. So they host things like wine runs, fun runs, things like that there at the winery. And a lot of people like to just come there and enjoy the hike and bike trail with their glass of wine. So when you go, you can do a tasting flight of either their sweet wines, their dry red wines, or a mix of maybe a little dry white, a little rosé, and a little red wines there together. They're both family and pet friendly, so you could come out with the kids or even the fur babies and grab a glass of wine and enjoy the property. And it'd be a great day to enjoy that hiking and biking trail while you enjoy your wine walking around. They also have a tasting room near Fredericksburg in partnership with Brennan Vineyards and McPherson Cellars called the Texas Wine Collective. In addition, they're about to open a brand new tasting room that's going to open up this fall in Boerne, Texas, which is near San Antonio, and it's also in that Texas Hill Country area. So while I was there for my visit, I was honored with the ability to actually sit down and talk to Jim Evans. He is the winemaker at Lost Oak. Now, Gene Estes, the founder of Lost Oak, was also able to sit in with us for a short period of time as well during the interview. But it was great to hear from both of them and to hear their legacy, the experience that both of these titans of the Texas wine industry were able to bring to the table. I was able to sit and talk for hours with Jim afterwards, just him telling all these great stories that he's brought to the Texas wine table over the years. But I could tell you all about my fun experience with him, but why don't you hear from him yourself? So I'm going to switch now to the interview so you can hear a little bit about Jim and his experience here with Texas Wine. Well, I'm here at Lost Oak Winery with Jim Evans, the winemaker. So tell me a little about yourself. What got you into the wine industry?
Well, I got into the wine industry because I was looking for a summer job before I started classes at Texas A&M University in 1981. And I went to work for the University of Texas Lands Office outside of, in Midland, Texas is where the office was. And they had an experimental vineyard and winery. The vineyard was down about 30 miles east of Fort Stockton on I-10, and the little experimental winery was actually in Midland. So I got a job working in the vineyards, and then as the grapes ripened and matured, we started picking, we would haul them all up to Midland, and I would make the wine there. And so 1981 was my first harvest in Texas. And this year, 2023, will be my 43rd in Texas. Yeah, I always say all the smart ones got out a long time ago, But anyway, I went off to Texas A&M in the fall, and I was a little bit older college student. I was almost 24 when I started there. But I came back to work the next summer and the next summer. And then when I graduated A&M, December of 84, they offered me a job as the winemaker for the experimental vineyard and winery project. And I did that for 12 years, and then they kind of eased that program out because we had pretty much proven that you could grow good fruit and make good wine in Texas. And there were 7 wineries, as near as I can recollect, in Texas that year I started in 81, and now there's close to 600 to 700 Jeep permitted wineries in the state. So it's been a huge boom over the last 40 years, and for many reasons, and it's a wonderful thing to see. But anyway, so I did that for about 12 years. And then as that project was eased out, I got a call from a man named Robert Wolf, and he had Lone Oak Vineyards up at Valley View, north of Denton. And he said, "Hey, I got all these grapes. Can you come help me make wine?" And I said, "Sure." So I started going up there, and they had a beautiful little Bordeaux-style vineyard. The way it was trellised, you would think you were in France. And I'm not even really sure there's a name for the trellising system that they came up with. It was pretty much developed by George Ray McEachern, who was the big grape guru at Texas A&M University back then. And so it was about 4 acres, 90% of it was Merlot. So he was selling his crop to a local winery that was there then, and we made the 200 gallons that you could make as a home winemaker. And we did that in 96, 97, 98. And then in 99, we decided to go commercial because Robert's wife, Jamie, she said she got tired of selling her children, her babies, off to these other places. So we made wine commercially there till 2005. And then Robert sold the assets to Gene Estes, the owner, founder of what is now Lost Oak Winery, and moved it down south to Burleson, and I went with the sale. But I always tell Gene that made it affordable, because when they started haggling price, Gene said, "Well, let's take that guy. I'm only going to pay you this much." Robert said, "Okay." So
does the winemaker convey?
That's right. That's right. So I went with the sale, and we've been down here ever since. We had a name change in about 2010. Yeah, and we went from Lone Oak Winery to Lost Oak Winery, and that's where we are now.
Great. Well, tell me a little bit about that, with the location. So what caused the name change and what?
Okay, well, the winery, Lost Oak Winery, is in Burleson, Texas, just a little bit south of Fort Worth, down off Interstate 35. The name was changed because we had a 2010 Viognier that we made, and it won a double gold medal at the San Francisco Chronicle wine competition, and we were very pleased with that. But that can also be a double-edged sword because it raises your profile a little bit. So Gene got a cease and desist letter in the mail saying, company in California, we own the rights to that name, Lone Oak, and you will not use it again. So Robert had never trademark. So we changed our name to Lost Oak. It was a small change, just a couple of letters, and we tell people we lost our loan, and but we did trademark it now. So you let any of the California people try to use that and see what happens.
Now you're sending out the cease and desist
That's
letters.
right. Then we're the shoes on the other foot.
Well, you talked about the vineyard up north in Valley View and all that, but
Right.
And I see you've got some vines here, some state vines on site. Where do you typically source most of your grapes?
I would say 90% plus of our grapes come from the high plains around Lubbock. We have some wonderful growers up there that we've established relationships with over the last 10, 12, 15 years even. And because there's such a distance involved, it's a good 6-7 hour truck ride to send those grapes here. Now, we go out several times a year, walk through the vineyards, see how things are going, but you have to establish a good relationship of trust with the people that are growing your grapes. And we've done that. I think we have wonderful growers. Not only are they growers, but they're great friends. We go out, we stay there. They come out here. They're welcome to stay here. We see them at the conferences every year, and it's just like family, we see them. And it works very well for us. We do have some on-site vines. We have Blanc du Bois, almost an acre. We have about almost 2 acres, 3 acres of Shiraz, estate Shiraz, that we've done very well with. And then we just got a little bit of Black Spanish that you see just right up here where you drove in. Yeah.
And do you process all of that here on site? Do you have a production facility here?
We have the last several years, but we are looking at expanding a little bit. And some of it might be done off-site at other facilities. But when that happens, I work with their winemaker very close. I give him all the protocols that we want the wines made, to. And we usually also send the chemicals, the yeast that we want to use. And it's worked pretty well. And then we'll make the wine for us, and then they will send it here. And then we will do our blending that we want, do our stabilizations we want, and then we will do the bottling here. Yes.
What are your favorite wines that you make?
Okay. Well, personally, I really like the Viogniers in Texas that we get. And it's so interesting because it's different year to year to year. And I think that's part of being in Texas because our weather is different year to year to year. And I love the good Viogniers and how they turn out. And again, you'll find out, because you've done this so long, that most of these wineries are going to have a Viognier on their tasting menu. And we credit Dr. Richard Becker with the one who first brought that grape to Texas, and look how well it's done. And it's one of my favorites. I really love our estate Shiraz. We've done very well with it. 2 years running now, we won double gold at San Francisco Chronicle with back-to-back Shiraz grown here. So, and then one of my favorites also is a little vineyard just to the east of here, Burning Daylight Vineyard, owned by David and Missy Goodall, and they grow Cabernet Franc. And I wouldn't have thought it would have been that good a variety in Texas, but it really shows a lot of promise. And we've done very well with our Cabernet Franc. The first Cabernet Franc we made was in 2014.
Okay.
From the Burning Daylight Vineyard. It won a gold medal at the Dallas Morning News. The 15 won a gold medal at the Texas International. And then our 16 won a gold medal at the San Francisco International. As far as I know, and I don't know for a fact, but as far as I know, it was the first Texas Cab Franc to do that. And then our 17 won a double gold at the San Francisco International. They gave 63 medals to Cabernet Francs that year and only 3 double golds. High-end Napa, a Washington State, and ours from this little vineyard right over here in Texas. So I felt like we were in pretty good company doing that.
Absolutely.
And then our 18, which I thought was the best of the lot, only won silver everywhere we put it. 19 was a little step back, so we didn't enter any competition, but it was a nice wine. It sold out. But 20, we're already back. Our 20 Cab Franc has won a gold at the San Francisco Chronicle and the Texas International. We just bottled our 21 back here a few weeks ago in May, and I think it's got a lot of potential in it also. So I think Cab Franc is one of the things we can hang our hat on here. And not only me personally do I love it, does well in the tasting room, and we've done very well in national and international competitions with it as well. So that's always a plus.
And then from the customer side, what do customers rave about?
We make a wine called an orange muscat, which is a little sweet, and it's a stop ferment. And what I mean by that is we actually stop the fermentation with a little sugar left. Instead of just adding, sucrose, table sugar, we stop it when it's got the fructose of the actual sugar of the grape. And it's very popular among our customers. They love it. It's a nice, great summer sipping wine. If they're sitting out here, we've got a band playing, a little music going. They bring the family, bring the dogs, and they love that orange muscat. But also our Viogniers, our reds. We have a wine called Dolce Rouge, which is sweet red, and that's also one of our biggest sellers. People really respond well to those wines. We make a little something for everybody.
My understanding was that Shiraz and Syrah were basically the same grape. It was just called Shiraz in South Africa and Australia and all that, but it was the same grape. Right. Are they different in some way?
No, they're the same grape.
Shiraz?
They're the same grape.
Okay.
But when Gene ordered his cuttings from California, they came in as Shiraz.
Okay.
And that's what we've called it.
Okay.
But it's Syrah.
It just got me thinking maybe there was something different that I didn't know about.
No. And it's a great variety for North Texas. It does really well up here. And of course, as you know and found out talking to people and winemakers, the Mediterranean varieties, the Spanish, the Rhone Valley, the Italians, those varieties really do well in Texas. And those are the varieties I think that we'll be hanging our hat on as a winemaking state, region, down the line.
Well, let's focus in a little bit on the actual tasting room and the winery here. What types of attractions or events or things like that do you put on here for customers?
Oh, we are busy all the time. We always have live music on weekends. Usually Thursday, we might have a acoustic guitar player come out. And then Friday and Saturday, yes, we have music. We have the Wicked Wine Run comes here a couple of times a year. We also have, there's 52 acres on this property, and Gene had the foresight to establish about a 2.5 mile hike and bike trail that people can come to, and it meanders through the woods back here, and you're out there in nature, and people see turkey, they see deer, occasionally a bobcat now and then. All kinds of different wildlife back there. It's very popular for people to come and walk their dogs on and ride their bikes on. And that's and Village Creek runs right through the property. We have a terrace down there where you can sit as the river runs by and sip on wine. We have a grape stomp every year in August. It's very popular, and we'll have different things like that. We host weddings. We have a wonderful event center, weddings, receptions, reunions, birthday parties, anniversaries. It's available for quinceañeras are very popular over there. So anyway, we're a full service winery we'd like to think of.
Well, let's talk about tastings for a second. And I know you and I have already talked about this. You're more in the back side of the house, but we'll ask you a little bit of some of the front side of the house questions here. So if a listener wanted to come in and do a tasting, to kind of what can they expect? So tell me a little bit about what the tastings look like and the pricing and all that kind of stuff.
Sure. We have a tasting menu, and it's sweet wines, dry reds, or dry red, white, and rosé. Yes, a mix of those. And it's 4 to 5 wines per tasting. It's $14.99 for one of these tastings. And as you mentioned, I had to look up the price, because people will ask me, how much does a bottle of your wine cost? And I'm like, I don't know.
I just make
this stuff. I have to look online and see how much a bottle of wine costs. And our prices do change, and it's reflected a lot. Of course, unfortunately, with the recent COVID pandemic that we've had, supply chain issues, everything has gone up. It's just a fact of life for everybody now. And unfortunately, we've had to reflect that a little bit. We've tried to keep any price hike to a minimum, but we still enjoy full venues on Friday, Saturday night. We're open Tuesday through Sunday. Monday's the only day we're closed.
Okay, that was going to be one of the questions with the operating hours.
Yeah, it's usually about 2 o'clock, 1 to 2 o'clock. Again, I'm not exactly sure. And we close at probably 8 or maybe 9 on the weekends, especially in the summer when it's daylight later.
I'm sure they can find that information on your website.
Oh, absolutely. And our website website is lostoakwinery.com.
Okay.
And there's lots of good information about our wines available, pricing, events coming up, and all that sort of thing that people might be interested in looking at.
And I see you've got a lot of great seating and places indoors as well as outdoors for people.
Yes.
So I presume walk-ins for tastings, no big deal, but do you prefer reservations or?
Walk-ins are absolutely welcome. I think if it's a larger party, they might call and make a reservation. And we do host tours also, and those are reservation. But to me, a tour is more, a reservation tour is more the exception. We're just open for anybody to come in, enjoy a glass of wine. We're very family oriented. Yeah. And we love, and bring food if you want,
Oh, this is Gene Estes, the owner. So
I just want to say that we are definitely quite a bit different, but we welcome pets, we welcome family, we welcome children. We're very open in that regard. And that's one of the reasons I think our popularity has increased in this area. Now, if we were in Fredericksburg, it might be a totally different thing. But in this community and so forth, it's I think that's one of our leading.
Well, and we're large enough also to where anybody can sit and listen to music. And if you want to be by yourself with a spouse or a friend and don't want those screaming kids around, we got plenty of places for you to sit away from them. And the kids are usually out playing in the big yard area that we have. And so it's not so much of an issue there. There's something for everybody again.
what are your busy and slow type seasons? What's the best time to come visit for a listener?
Oh, anytime. That was a diplomatic answer, wasn't it? I guess we get real busy, especially, of course, most wineries around the fall and the holiday season is a great time to go wine tasting and stuff. It slows down a little bit after the holidays, but we're finding the weather here in Texas can be very nice through January, February. So we're open on weekends, and a lot of times people are ready to unwind after the holidays, so they come out, have a glass of wine, and then it starts heating up in the summer, and we'll see more traffic later in the day, as it gets towards in the evening, once school's out and all. But we're busy pretty much 12 months out of the year, which is a good thing.
Do y'all have a wine club for members?
We do have a wine club.
You know the details on that? I know, again, you're back of the house, but I don't know if you know any of the details about it.
There's different layers to it.
Okay.
2 bottles up to a case, and it's very popular. We started that wine club pretty much right after we opened our doors here in 2006. One of the first things we did.
First things I did is I went to California and studied under Greg Hardy. He actually invented the concept of wine club in California, and he really knew his stuff. So I went there and spent about 4 days, learning all about it. And then we came and implemented. And right now we have 1365.
Yeah, it's a pretty good sized wine club. We also have a tasting room in the Hill Country area, the Texas Wine Collective. And we are in there with Brennan Vineyards and McPherson Cellars also. And so the 3 of us there in the one place. And this fall, we're looking to open a tasting facility in Boerne, Texas, just north kind of San Antonio on I-10. And it'll be just us. Lost Oak Cellars will be the name of that tasting room, as far as I know. I think that's what they're shooting for. So we're trying to expand a little bit. We do about 9,000 to 10,000 cases a year. And Roxanne Myers, the president and owner, is looking at trying to bump that up a little bit. So our winemaking team, which is myself, Angela Chapman, and Jacqueline Stroud, we compromise the team that puts these wines together and does all the work. Well, they do all the work. I take all the credit. So that's how it works.
43 seasons behind you. I think you've earned that.
Well, they still get me to work. They like to let me think I'm in charge, but I know how it is.
So do you do any kind of distribution? So how can people taste your wines if maybe they can't come here?
Well, we're not really in distribution.
Okay.
If you can't come here, you can order wine on our website. We have a list of states that we ship to, but we do ship within Texas, anywhere. And I think even if you're down in the hill country and you want to taste some of our wines, certainly the Texas Wine Collective would be a stop-by place to see what we've got offered down there.
Any plans for future growth?
Well, just as I mentioned, the Bernie tasting room, we are looking at, we don't necessarily want to expand into more varietals of grapes because we do many right now. And so we're looking more at bumping up production of those specific varieties like we do, Cabernet, Merlot, Cab Franc, Shiraz, Tempranillo, Viognier, Orange Muscat. We do some Sauvignon Blanc. We don't have one available right now, but we've had a very good Sauvignon Blanc before. Petit Verdot, another one of the red varieties that we do, and Blanc de Bois. And so we're just looking at trying to bump up production within those varieties.
So what, in your opinion, is the number one thing that would set Lost Oak apart that people would want to come check that out?
Well, that's a great question, and one that I really haven't thought much about. To me, anybody that visits a Texas winery tasting room, it's a win for everybody in the industry, And everybody is unique in their own way, and everybody has something that sets them apart, what people like. I'd like to think that here we are so family-focused and family-friendly, but the main thing that I think that we really strive for, and I think every winery does that, is quality of our wines. We really, really work to make the best possible wines we can. And we don't necessarily stop to think of ourselves like statewide. We think we do as well as most people in the state. We try to expanding our thinking, not just nationally, but globally. We like to think that our wines can stand with anybody's in the world, especially Texas wines against the original Mediterranean varieties that you find in Spain and the Rhone and Italy. I mean, they would probably crucify me for saying this, but I think we can do it just as good as they can, and sometimes even better. I know I would get lots of argument from the old schoolers over there, but and Texas is such a melting pot of people and cultures, and we see that in our wines. Almost every wine does well in Texas. And just kind of back to your question, I think just the way we focus on customer service and just try to make the best absolute wines we can to get those out there. And I think that's one of the things that doesn't necessarily set us apart from other wineries, because every winery strives to do that. But I think it just puts us up on that pedestal with a lot of other people.
So there you have it. Visitors to Lost Oak can learn forward to a warm Texas welcome and an unforgettable experience while enjoying their award-winning wines there at Lost Oak. Whether you're doing a wine tasting or maybe one of those guided tours of the winery, or just enjoying the wildlife on that hike and bike trail around the property, you're going to be in good hands. With so many years of experience in the Texas wine industry, you can be assured they have the experience that you can trust. Their goal is to make everyone there feel like family while you enjoy their wines and the beautiful surroundings on the property. As I said earlier, after my interview concluded, I actually just sat and drank wine and listened to Jim tell all kinds of stories from his 43 years of harvest for quite a while. If you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you must take some time to make the short trip to Burleson, just south of Fort Worth, and enjoy this family-owned wine destination. And if you're not in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, make some plans to take a trip up there because it is worth going to. It's a true wine destination. Now, when you decide to make a visit, first check out their website. It's www.lostoakwinery.com. So there you'll want to read up a little bit on their story, find info on their tasting rooms, including that new one they're opening up in Bernie, and check out their events calendar. Like they said, they've lots of great music and events and things they do at the winery there. That grape stomp that Jim mentioned sounded like an event you don't want to miss, and it's coming up soon. You'll want to see details about their wine club, even shop for their wine to be shipped directly to you. So even if you can't get there, you can taste their wine by having it shipped directly. Don't forget, when you go to see them, make sure and tell them you heard about them on this podcast, Texas Under Vine. Now, before I left Lost Oak, I had to purchase a bottle of that fantastic 2020 Cabernet Franc that Jim raved about as my library bottle for this episode. And with that, my short excursion to North Texas has come to an end, and I'll be back on the road to see more fun wine destinations and bring that info to you. Did you know that Texas is currently the 4th largest state for wine production in the United States? I have my work cut out for me. If you wouldn't mind helping me, would you please consider leaving a rating and a review for this podcast if you're enjoying it on whatever site you get the podcast from? There's so many other people in Texas, I'm convinced, who would love this information about our Texas wine destinations, and these reviews and ratings really help me get that show in front of even more people. I'm just one guy, and trying to get my podcast out to multiple people can be difficult, but with your help, we can get it to even more people that would love to hear this information. I also want to take a second to thank my latest patron, Victoria W. You help make this show possible, and I'm overjoyed at your support for the show. Thank you so much. Well, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, follow my socials to be notified whenever the next episode is published. Until next time, happy trails and bottoms up, y'all. Thanks for listening to Texas Under Vine. We strive to provide you with the best information about wine businesses all over Texas. Be sure to check out our website at texasundervine.com and follow us on our socials at Texas Under Vine to stay up on all the upcoming episodes. Please email us with any suggestions or feedback. Also, contact us if you're interested in donating, sponsoring, or advertising on the podcast, just to help us cover our expenses and bring even more great info to you in future episodes. Above all, travel safely, and most especially, drink responsibly. Don't forget to also check out the Texas Wine Lover website and their phone app. If you want to plan a trip to the wine destination I talked about in this episode, the site for Texas Wine Lover and their phone app that you can download will really help you organize a trip so you can go see them. You can check out all of the goodness that I got to experience while I was there. But as you're planning your trip, while you're on their website or their app, you can also find out things like accommodations, restaurants, and even some fun events and things that are going on at the wineries, and maybe even find one that you want to experience as part of your wine trip that you never even expected. So check them out. Again, it's txwinelover.com.